Hi everyone, it's me, Dania, and today I'll be answering some questions that I received from Instagram and from my messages. But before I start, I'd like to give a short introduction about myself. So, my name is Dania. I'm from the Philippines. I'm a development and humanitarian worker, and my favorite color is pink. So, I've actually started my channel in 2022, which is last year, and I'm filming this video this year in 2023 of January. I've always wanted to do this content to start off with establishing my page or my account with the Q&A. And just now I got the opportunity. And really, just a side note that I want to make this as natural, as raw, as modest as possible, just simple as it is. So I'll just go ahead with these questions that I receive and read them and answer them as quickly as possible. I don't want to go through all of the questions since I've just picked out some of the things that are similar. And I also want to give a huge thank you to those who messaged me and sent me their questions through my Instagram stories and through my Facebook page or account. So thank you so much. The first question I picked out actually is from a good friend of mine. Her name is Maysoon. We've known each other and we've become good friends during the pre-pandemic. We've met in our school abroad. So she asked a couple of good questions. Her first question is, what advice could I give my college self? I think the first thing I'd want to tell my college self is to appreciate, to acknowledge, and to just feel and be present in every moment, whether it may be good or bad. And finally, to overthink and self criticize or self doubt lesser. She also asked, is it okay to take a pause from college to truly find one's passion? I would answer that with a yes and a no. But overall, in general, there is no wrong answer in this question. A yes or a no is still a step, and whether or not you assess or find that as a misstep or an error, you are still taking a route. You are still moving either forward or sideways. That is still moving, and there shouldn't be any shame. There shouldn't be any, self criticism or self ostracization. Otherwise, you'll be feeling that as if you're having this anxiety, and self doubt with such decision. It's just, it would be better if you move forward with it with such acknowledgement, acceptance. We have to also assess, you also have to view it with a lens that this decisions rather very situational. If yes, then you're likely to have the luxury, the privilege rather, to find a jump or a leap to that boss. And if you say no, then that also speaks very much about you. You may be someone who is a responsible member of your family, because of your social or economic positionings, that you couldn't just take these bosses. Of course, for many grounded and for many valid reasons. So it's all situational, but at the end of the day, there is no discrimination, there is no wrong answer to it. You are still moving forward. All these decisions are patchwork quilt to where you are heading, which is finding yourself, finding your passion, and our passion is something that is continuously growing and expanding. Another really good question I received from a very good and dear friend of mine, Troy, who is a former councilmate from back in college when I was still very active in the student body. He asked, since the pandemic is starting to subside, how much different are you now compared to from when the pandemic started? Really, ever since the pandemic started, I've experienced a lot of changes within me, and I've seen that throughout many areas, many peers, many people also. I think it's natural, it comes, but overall, I think the very thing is we've learned so much from this experience, from ever since the global health crisis started. We have garnered so much lessons, so much, advantages and disadvantages. And I think um, there have been many things that change with us. I think for the younger people, we certainly have cared so much. We've realized that we care about a lot of things. And we are among the most passionate population. We are among those who are very feisty for what we believed in, what we believe and what we support in. So I think we've experienced a lot of changes. We've, resisted a lot of things throughout the experience. And personally, um, I've seen a lot of change when it comes to my sociability. I think that also springs from the mental and emotional toll that has, been given to me since the pandemic started. I think it's pretty natural since we've been in lockdown and we haven't seen each other. We're doing things online, so that has an implication, positive or negative, but either way, there are implications, and I've seen that throughout how I've interacted with a lot of people. I think I needed, for a time when we were trying to return to normal, I think the early 2022, I felt like I needed more energy, more effort that I had to exert in terms of interacting, because how I interacted and how I socialized wasn't really the same as how I did, even how I spoke, the kind of energy, the kind of vibe, it all changed, honestly. How I maintained myself whenever I socialize, and even as simply as speaking like this, really changed since the pandemic. Um, yeah, many things really changed, but I think that's what's really particular. That's one of the things that I realized that changed. And I think another thing is my boundaries had been stronger. I think throughout that challenging experience, it made me realize how our life is so important and how short it can be. And with these kinds of very unprecedented experiences like global health crisis could really tell us how short life is. And we were all such in shambles and panics back in 2021 when this virus came in. So I realized how we should value our time, our spirit, our vibe, our soul, really, and how we want to choose the right company, the people that we spend, our energy with. We have to connect as much as possible, and we have to establish meaningful and really profound and at least rewarding connections with our family, with each other. And really, there's no excuse to waste our time knowing how short it is. So it's important to set these standards and boundaries. The third or the fourth, I can't remember which, but the next question I received is from Rima. I love Rima. Rima is a very close and very dear friend of mine. We met over this book club, and she's very brilliant. She's very loving. She's very funny, and I love Rima. And she asked me on Instagram, what do you think one should do during the middle of his or her career existential crisis? Honestly, as vague as it sounds, I think first is to assess, to navigate your position. What is your situation? You have to realize that you have to still stay pragmatic as much as possible and not feel jaded over what's happening, because I know that things can get so overwhelming. So don't excuse me, don't feel jaded about it. Just try to at least be pragmatic, and it helps if you clear your mind, and it helps if you just try at least to attempt. I know these things could still it will have implications to your mental health. But at least when you sleep at night, it will help if you just try to not think about it. At least that will help. I know it's something difficult, but I've tried to do that and it really did help. I don't take it whenever I try to end my day. I just try to clear it out of my mind. And I think the second thing would be seek support. It would be good if you know who are your support systems, your support circles. If you have a close friend, if you're close with your mother, your father, if you have mentors who are very supportive, then seek their support. They may and they will certainly have the best advice to you. I remember when I was going through existential crisis. Honestly, it was just a very difficult moment, and I really didn't know what to do, and I couldn't clear my mind because there was so much emotional and mental toll. But I think it was good that I had support systems like my sister and my mother who realized, and my father as well, who realized how difficult it was for me. So then they were very supportive, and I was very, very, very thankful for my mom and my dad because they were the one who were keeping me grounded, who were motivating me, and just slapping me with the reality and removing any delusions from me, to in the effort to restore my well-being, which I'm very thankful for. Those were really hard knocking words, but they eventually you have to play with dirt, you have to be knocked up in order to experience the good. And that really helped. I think after that experience, after that pep talk, it really pushed and motivated me to move forward to something better. So it's important to get a support system that you can rely on. And finally, as cliche as it sounds, pray if you do pray, or if not, find something you believe in, find something that will push you to move forward. It may not be in the form of a god or some deity or whatever, but at least believe in something, care for something that will help you out. The next question I receive is actually from a very special person. She is a close cousin to me. Her name is Shireen, and she asks a couple of really funny questions actually, but I'll just answer one of those. So she asks, what's the hardest battle you've encountered in your career? I think there are a lot of challenges in this field, in this line, being a humanitarian and development worker, and also now focusing more on the law in the legislative field. It's a lot of challenge. There is quite numerous uphill battles. It's not just in one situation, or it's not just but yeah, I think I would say in the earliest phase of my career, the biggest challenge would be the age gap. I started my career early, as soon as I graduated at 19 years old. And I think ever since, I really, really wanted to stand, or to establish my ground of my identity, being firstly a Muslim, a woman, and a Mindanaoan. I was very rooted, and I knew that these, being intersectional, these identities that I have were really important, and they play a very big part as to what pushes me, what fuels me. So there were a lot of challenge as to, for example, doing my prayers, practicing my religion, but still, I think it involved a lot of effort from my side, as well as cooperation from the many people who worked with me, my colleagues, which I really appreciated for their understanding in many situations, and really for their acceptance and their coexistence with me. And I think just in the pandemic, I've experienced the second hardest challenge, which really is the mental and emotional toll, the very exaggerated and excessive work that was coming in. I think that part was the second, or the peak hardest that I had to encounter. But I'm very thankful that now I get to reflect from them. I get to look back and I get to say, good job, well done. There are still things that I'm trying to heal from those emotional and mental toll. But certainly, I think it's also part of the things that I had to experience in order to, solidify my fortitude, my grit, and my courage. And now I think, again, the thing is, I've learned to establish really good boundaries. And to establish good boundaries, you have to understand your emotions, your feelings. You have to honor and respect them. So I think, yeah, those are the two main challenges, really. Starting at a very competitive and a very diverse, multi-layered, multidisciplinary, multicultural, very, very multicultural field at a very young age, that will really not tickle you. It will punch you. It will shove you to a sewer. But still, at that situation, you have to find hope. And with the pandemic, there were a lot of emotional and mental battles. And now I'm just really glad that I'm taking my time to heal from any experience. And I'm taking also my knowledge to reflect and to learn from those, experiences. The next question is a really good question. It's very much related to mental health and well being, which I very much appreciate. And it's, how do you distress? I think throughout, time, how I distress has become more and more different. I think in college, I distress with just taking, um, few rests and breaths throughout my day. Because I think in college I didn't have that much of boundaries set to ask for a break, so I often burn out and just move forward from another. So I just sift through breaks and just breathe whenever I feel stressed, and just try to move forward with it. But now, as I got older, I adapt and I try to distress in a lot more different ways. I try to go on, little things, actually, even going on grocery shoppings and just, going to other places different from your usual work or usual, say, tense places. So I try to distress from those avenues. I try to do little things that will work, because I realized that throughout time these things could change. Sometimes um, the memory of being stressed um, lingers from the things that don't work anymore. So I try to find new things. Sometimes I hang out with people, or sometimes if I don't want to be around, or if I don't want to socialize, I just spend time with myself. And each day, each stressful situation, each exhausting day is so different from the other. But I just try to be more creative, I guess, be more innovative with how I try to distress. I think the thing that I'm just very much careful about is really burning out. So that's a big no-no for me at this point of my life. So I just try to be more attentive to what I'm feeling. I think that's also a prelude or a pre-step to distressing. We all know that we will be stressed eventually, so it would be good to be more self-aware, to be mindful, not mindful, but be mindful of foremost your feelings and those around you. I think it's some sort, mental health and well-being is some sort of um, a web of how we also treat others, how we socialize with them. So it's all about mindfulness, really. Okay, another question from may soon. My fave movie of the year and why. I don't know if it's. I'm just gonna research which year is this movie. Oh, it's honestly it's a 2021 movie, but I think I watched it in 2022. But I really love movies and I enjoy watching by myself or with people, but oftentimes I just honor my alone time and watch movies. And I can watch on and on. But I think in 2021, my favorite movie was Moxie. I don't know if you know that movie, but it's a Netflix movie and I really, really loved it. I even I just really fell in love with the characters, and I think how how it played well with some of the realities in what's happening um, in general in society was really played out there. So I really like that movie. Um, if you want to watch it, it's on Netflix. But yeah, if you're also a feminist, you will subscribe to that movie. It's really for me it's a fun movie. It's thrilling, and you also get to discover a lot about yourself. And these next questions are very much, I think, they're college related questions, school related questions rather. I received this question: how to be confident and conquer stage fright. I would say that I haven't been that vocal early on in my academic stages. I think I've only started to be vocal when I realized I was in the right place, when I was in a judgment and in a safe space. When I was studying abroad, I've encountered severe bullying. So I've never recall any moment wherein I was vocal there. I was always shy, timid, and when I got home here in the Philippines, I still carried that mannerism. I still had that character because, of course, experiencing severe bullying will carry that will let you carry such heavy burden and such scar in your heart, wherein you just fear any misstep and any judgment from anybody. Of course, for the reasons that you've been hurt. So I think it was just in my late high school years, in my senior years in high school, that I got really confident. And I think I got confident because of the space that I was in. So that's really important for me. I would say that from my experience, but I do know there are other more practical or technical. If you're looking for that answer, I guess you can also Google that. But my answer would be from my experience. And I think the first thing, if you want to build, speaking or confidence or even conquering your stage fright, you need to be in the right space. Because I think just as learning anything, say learning how to bike, you can't really learn how to bike if you're learning from from a very terrible, very terror, a very harassing, rather, a very in a completely bad situation. You won't learn it. Either you won't learn it, or you will learn it in a very resentful experience. So you will not appreciate it if you are resenting it. So I think the very first stage for me to conquer that and to now at least have such experience in public speaking is really to start in a safe space. You have to navigate and you have to understand the spaces that will work for you, that is kind for you, that will allow you to grow. And these spaces shouldn't be hostile. These spaces should be open as possible to learning and to growing. So I think that's so important. And all the other things will go through. I think number one for me is reading. So reading, because I think confidence is also about knowledge and information. So you have to read and read. You have to, if you want to memorize, then memorize, but at least familiarize, read, know what you're talking about. And secondly, practice. Always practice. Always. I remembered in college when I shifted to another program, and we always had these very intense recitations on international law, on anything related. I remembered I was quite horrible in terms of, you know, jumping from another thought or topic. Um, it was really difficult because we were discussing a lot of topics about law, about um, foreign relations, all those, and I really couldn't connect the national, domestic, the regional. I couldn't connect those experiences. But then I sought to practice. So almost every day, I talked to myself in the mirror, in the shower room, alone in my room. I just talked to myself. And when I got to the classroom, it was easier. It was lighter for me to talk. And I could relate and connect all the dots and could go on and on. So yeah, you have to read and you have to practice. And most importantly, you have to find the safe space to conquer that. Eventually, I do hope it will work out for you if you are attempting to, to improve your public speaking and to conquer if you have straight stage fright. I think also I recall there was this mentor that I had, and he said that when he was in college, he had extreme straight stage fright, but now um, it's all gone because he was motivated by one of his mentors to go for it and to not be afraid. So I guess also finding the right mentors could help. This question is from Reese. Reese is my friend. Hi, Reese. And she's asking your favorite clothing heirloom from your mom. She remembers that I was wearing one of them from when we first met through a shoot where I discussed the experiences of Muslim women in the country. I think during that time I was wearing a green bracelet from my mother, and now I think I was also wearing this. But I think my favorites would be these two, since I have always been wearing either both or just one of each since college. But I also had one favorite ever since college. It was, I think, a beige pearl, and I really loved it. It was a very pretty color. It was somewhat close to a rosy pink, but I guess it was a more peach beige. But yeah, I really love that, but I could not find it, or I think I left it somewhere. But yeah, these are just some of my few favorites. I still have other heirlooms, other bracelets, and other accessories from my mother. And I think it's not just from accessories, also wardrobe items. They're all my favorite, so as long as they are from my mom. And I think I started this ritual or routine of wearing these accessories. Honestly, before I really didn't like wearing them. I actually didn't like them in general, the style. I think they're not nice. But I think what grounded me to wear them is because it allowed me to remember my mom, even in college, because I realized I didn't have that much of an opportunity to, be with my mother. And in college, ever since college, that was the time wherein I started to often miss my mom, even if we lived together. I really miss my mom. Like, sometimes I would have moments where I would just think of hugging my mom and I want to kiss my mom. So I remembered I would wear these bracelets, mostly given by my mom, or I stole them from her. And she would ask me, "Where's my watch? Where's my bracelet?" And I said, "It's here. I'm wearing it." And then she'd say, "Oh, it looks nice. You should wear more." So yeah, I really enjoyed wearing it. I just realized it, I think in the ending parts of my undergrad, that it looks nice on me. So when I started working, I also wore it. I think some of these are quite multi-purpose. You can also use them as a tasbih. So I remembered I had a brown bracelet, which you can also use as a tasbih, and it was quite larger. And I think also praying reminds me of my mom. So anything that quite reminded me as an accessory, as a mannerism, or as a practice was always very much appreciated. And I really, really tried to keep abreast with it, and I tried to insert it in my lifestyle routine so that I can always remember my mom. And final question I'm going to answer is from another very close and favorite cousin of mine, um, Ate Haifa. So Ate Haifa actually asked a very funny question. So she asked, "How long do you think are you going to stay as an employee? I believe you can be a CEO." Thank you, Ate. I think I think I'll stay a little longer, but I do have future plans to be more active in some organizations that I've started. So I do wish, I do cross my fingers that I do find more time and really the energy and the motivation and the processes and the commitment really to be engaged in those goals and objectives of mine. Um, I think really I care for those things, but oftentimes things get delayed, things get paused, but that doesn't mean it's the end of the journey. That just means it's a time to reflect, and it's a time to look forward to other things that could be. It's a fragment of a moment of a time that we can take advantage of in order to better ourselves. So I just read it and view it as that. So it's a really cute question from my very cute and one of my favorite cousins. So thank you, Ate Haifa. And yeah, those are the questions that I chose to answer. Again, huge thank you to everybody who sent their questions. I really appreciated it. I've always wanted to do this Q&A, and I really, really am thankful for the questions that I receive. Unfortunately, I couldn't go through all of them because I have other things to do. So, yeah, I hope this one for now will be good for everybody. And yeah, I guess if you have other ideas or other things you'd like to ask or you'd like for me to do as a next content idea, do feel free to send them in the comment section or message them to me. Yep. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been Dania, and yeah, hope to see you in the next stuff and adventure here on YouTube. Bye bye.